Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Aaron. I'm a technician here at Z1 Motorsports, and today we are going to be installing a Z1 clutch and flywheel kit on this Infiniti G35. Alright, so this is going to be just a clutch and flywheel install. We already have the transmission removed from the vehicle. If you would like details on how to do that, you can go ahead and refer to the factory service manual. So first thing we got to do is remove the pressure plate, and how we do that is remove 9 of these 12mm bolts that hold the pressure plate on. Do be cautious because some clutch dust will fall, so it's best to put some type of trash can or something under it. Alright, so on the last 2 bolts, make sure you're holding it with one hand. You do not want the clutch disc to fall out. Alright, so next thing you need to do once you have the pressure plate and flywheel off is to remove the flywheel. And how you do that is you gotta remove 8 of the flywheel bolts, which is a T55 socket. Removed all the bolts, you're ready to go ahead and pull the flywheel off. You might need to wiggle it some. Sometimes they can be kind of stuck on there some. Just like that. Alright guys, so after we removed the flywheel, we noticed that the rear main seal was leaking, so we went ahead and replaced that. This would be the perfect time to replace the rear main seal if it's leaking. So now that's replaced, we are ready to go ahead and continue on with the clutch and flywheel replacement. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the pilot bushing, and we do have a special tool for that. Alright, and the new pilot bushing is going to be located in the box with the pressure plate underneath of it. And as you can see, it's on the alignment tool. So we're going to go ahead and take this out of the package, pull the alignment tool out, and pull off the new pilot bushing. Now that we have our old pilot bushing removed, we have our new pilot bushing ready to be installed. I like to use a 14mm socket. It is just about the perfect diameter to install this into the back of the crank, and a small hammer to tap it in. So when you put it in, you want to be very careful to not hit it in too far. So you can get it started, and they go in fairly easy. About right there is where you want it to be installed. You don't want it to go in too far, otherwise the input shaft of the transmission won't sit in it fully and it'll be a pain to remove it later on. Alright, now that we have the new pilot bushing installed, we are ready to go ahead and throw on the flywheel. Now before you do put the flywheel on, it's important to clean it off because it does come with a light film of oil on it just to keep any surface rust from developing. So we already took the liberty to clean this off, and we're going to go ahead and install it. It is very important you do install this in the correct orientation, otherwise your vehicle will not run properly or it may not even start. So if you look on the flywheel, there is a small pinhole, and that pinhole lines up with the dowel on the back of the crankshaft. Now we see this all the time. People do not get it aligned correctly and the vehicle will not run. So let's go ahead and throw that up there. Make sure it's lined up with that dowel pin on the back of the crankshaft. Alright, once you get your flywheel sitting up there in the correct orientation and you get the bolts started, we can go ahead and grab our T55 socket and we can go ahead and snug these up in a cross pattern or star pattern. once the flywheel bolts are snugged up, we are going to be torquing those to spec, which is 65 foot-pounds. The easiest way to do this is to have a friend hold the front of the crankshaft while you're torquing these so it doesn't spin. So now that we have the flywheel torqued to specs, we are good to go ahead and install the clutch disc and pressure plate. Now the clutch disc does go on one way. It's very important that you get this correct also. On most clutch discs, you will see a flywheel side or transmission side. In this case, it says TM, which stands for transmission side. So go ahead and stick this up here on the back of the flywheel. Grab your alignment tool, and you want to stick that into the back of the pilot bushing, and it'll hold up there just like that. And very similar to the flywheel, the pressure plate does come with a very thin layer of oil on it just to prevent surface rust to build up. So we're gonna go ahead and line this up. It might take you a couple rotations to get it lined up properly. There are dowel pins that it has to line up with. And just throw a couple bolts in there with your fingers. So pressure plates have to be torqued down properly. If they're not, it could possibly warp, and then it could cause you to have clutch engagement and disengagement issues. So according to the factory service manual, you want to torque each bolt down to 11 foot-pounds in a star or cross pattern, and then go through and re-torque them down to 29 foot-pounds. All right, so once you are snugging down the bolts for the pressure plate, it is very important to do a little bit at a time. You do not want to completely tighten down one bolt first and then move on to the next, which can cause warping and cause clutch issues like I previously explained. All right, so once we have the pressure plate torqued down to spec, we can go ahead and remove the clutch alignment tool. And now we are good to go ahead and install the transmission. All right guys, so that's gonna wrap up the how-to install video on the Z1 clutch and flywheel kit for the 350Z or G35. Be sure to check out the website. Thanks.